what was a major obstacle in your career, and what big picture lesson did you learn from overcoming it?
Major obstacle in my career?
Finding girls, that was number one. We established that.
It's not an obstacle when you aren't, when it's not really, you're not pressured by it. I grew up with a life, really not to have obstacles, and I was in a weird situation. I had done so much in winning science fair projects that were equivalent of master's degrees in universities in elementary school, onto middle school and onto what I did in high school. And I got 800s on all the math and science SATs, and I could design any computer in the world in 2 days on paper. So I had it made. I mean, I didn't have to worry about what am I going to do for a job when I get out of high school. I could go get a job, all over Silicon Valley right away. I never had an obstacle there. Never had to think, what am I going to do when I get out of college? What courses should I take? So I was the exception to that rule. Almost every project I ever took on in electronics, every single one, I could build a device that plays Pong on my TV. I could build a terminal that talks to the ARPANET, the early internet with only 6 computers on it. And I could build these things. And once I thought of the idea, I knew the way to do it. That's the trouble. I'd put in my 10,000 hours, and I could sit down on paper and never failed to get there. One I can bring up is when we had a computer at first, started our company. It was going to be our only profitable computer for the first 10 years of Apple. That was the Apple II. And the programs were on cassette tapes. So you would pick up a cassette tape called Checkers, and you'd put it in a cassette tape player and play it into your computer, and it would learn the program. What you wanted was a disk where you could sit down and say, run Checkers, or run Checkbook, or run Color Math, or run these other programs we had. You'd want to say run it. And I had a high motivation to design a disk controller, floppy disk, in 2 weeks, because Apple was going to get to go to a show in Las Vegas in 2 weeks. And we were only going to send 3 marketing guys, Steve Jobs and Mike Markla, marketing, and Mike Scott, our president. Yeah, I wanted to see Las Vegas. I'd always heard about it. So I raised my hand in a staff meeting, and I said, if we have a floppy disk, can we show it? And Mike Markla said, yes. And I'm thinking, if they have a floppy disk, they have to take me. However, I had never worked with any disk hardware or software in my life. But I had developed things in my brain that I could look at any problem and figure out a solution, write my own books for the books I had not read. I developed a disk controller with such tiny, tiny little chips, and I finally got it to where it could write ones and zeros onto a disk and read back ones and zeros, but it didn't know where the stop and start was. You kind of have to know where stopping the start of a sentence is, for example, the start of a word, start of a byte, we called it. And I didn't know if I'd solve it, and I said, I'll try to tackle it when I get there. And came up with a solution for that one. But those were in those prime days. Now, in later years, I had a startup company to make a GPS product. The intent was to have a $30 product you buy in any grocery store and set it up and pop it in your glove compartment, pop it in your briefcase, pop it on your bicycle, and for a year the battery would last. 1 year wouldn't have to be changed, and you could find it wherever it was. And I couldn't achieve several engineering goals of size, cost, and battery life.
Did you go to Las Vegas?
I did go to Las Vegas.
What happened?
It was a huge hit introducing this product, the floppy disk that nobody ever expected on a personal computer. I mean, we were already so ahead of the world. Nobody ever expected color. Nobody expected that games would be software. The Apple II changed the world a lot. So I got to go to Las Vegas, and I taught Steve Jobs how to play craps. And I went with a high school programmer that was helping me out with we'd worked every single day, including Christmas and New Year's Day, and took Randy Wigington with me, and he was 17. I taught him how to play craps, and he won $35. It's funny, you remember things like that, but you don't remember the chemistry equations you got.